I just think being a man is all about being your authentic self because at the end of the day, showing no hesitation about showing emotion or being there for people or standing up for people shows that you're willing to go to bat at any moment, and being authentic and comfortable with who you are as an individual really shows a lot of security and strength.
So I wanted to pose a question and ask you guys, growing up, has there ever been a time where you felt bullied or like just felt in general that you couldn't be yourself?
I consider myself like a pretty emotional person, to be honest. Like, I don't really see, like, I've never had any issues expressing my emotions. But, like, in the event where I was, like, bullied, etc., I feel like I had to just take it at face value because I'm like, I can't show any sign of weakness because that will then only further the bullying that was happening and only encourage it. So it's kind of a balance that you have to do because you have to be able to express your emotions and be comfortable in being who you are as an individual, but also you also have to like put up this wall kind of, and that wall still like persists to this day. So it's kind of a way of like trying to find some type of balance moving forward.
So definitely for me, growing up in like a household full of like girls and stuff, it was pretty hard. I was the youngest one. I always had to like take all this like name calling and stuff because I'm supposed to be the strong one, and the females are supposed to be the emotional ones. They were the ones supposed to be like crying all the time, and like I was supposed to just just like not do anything basically.
So in general, do you guys just have a hard time expressing yourself? It's like raise your hand if you find it easy to express yourself. Okay, so for the people that don't find it easy, why don't you?
Only because like, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, so it's like might be a more widespread thing, but like you don't want to feel like a burden, right? So it's like the and I don't know, and no one's ever like explicitly said to me like, "Yo, don't share your problems because it's a burden." It's just like something that you draw your own conclusions, right? And it's like when particular things just become a part of how you function, it's hard to break a certain way of thinking or a certain way of living that you live with 20 years of your life. You know what I mean? Um, I just find it like now I'm lucky because I have an outlet, right? So like I make music and all that, and like I've been able to process a lot of stuff through that. But when you've lived that way your whole life, it's not something that you could just wake up and change. Like that's how you're living.
And in contrast, Sammy, why is it easy for you?
Um, I guess like when it came to how I feel, I've pretty much been like outspoken about it, and like I guess like when it comes to like expressing myself, for me it's more a matter of like who I'm doing it to. Cause if like when I talk to my girlfriends, like I'll talk to them like, yeah, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm feeling. But when I'm with my guy friends, like there's just like no space for that. You don't want to be like the soft one. But I don't know. For me, it's never been a matter of like what I'm feeling. Like if I'm feeling sad or mad, it's just like I've always been adamant about like however I'm feeling. I got to make sure I handle mine as a man. Like you know what I mean. So if like let's say if my girlfriend cheated on me, you know what I mean. I'm allowed to feel sad about that. I'll let everybody know I'm sad about it. But how do I go about it as a man though? Because I'm not gonna look soft like in front of nobody. You know.
I'm going to use that to go off into my next question. So, what is your definition of what it means to be a man? Because, especially since you said, how do I go about it as a man? What does it mean to you versus what does it mean to society?
Uh, I mean,
I wasn't asking it to you specifically. It's just
yeah.
I was looking at you, but
like I guess it's not the most popular opinion, but I tend to view masculinity as like a positive thing, not toxic. Toxic masculinity is its own beast. Like masculinity and femininity are two opposite energies. That means toxic femininity can be just as bad. But when it comes to like being masculine and what I think about it, like being active, being present, being strong, being still, logical in like any situation. It doesn't mean that you're not able to feel, but you're able to like process what's going on and act accordingly.
I think everyone like takes it really differently too, because some people may take it as a more like stronger stance to be a bigger presence, as you stated, and I think that that's an important thing to do. Like, it's important to be active within that. I just think being a man is all about being your authentic self, because at the end of the day, showing no hesitation about showing emotion or being there for people or standing up for people shows that you're willing to go to bat at any moment, and being authentic and comfortable with who you are as an individual really shows a lot of security and strength.
So from your point of view, like to you guys in general, what really is the line that makes masculinity toxic?
I'll give you my example. I grew up in Colombia, born and raised in Colombia. You're not supposed to wear earrings. You're not supposed to wear baggy pants. You're not supposed to wear stuff that didn't fit you properly or too tight. Everything had its own rules. Girls could do whatever they wanted to. They want to wear that. They want to wear earrings. They don't. They could do whatever they want. So, like, not being able to express yourself, I guess that in my opinion, that's where masculinity becomes toxic. Because as a man, I feel like you should be able to express your emotions, express however you want to dress, however you want to show yourself as a man, right? Because each man is different, you know? And I guess that's where it becomes toxic, when every man has to be the same, they have to do the same things, they have to be somebody they're not, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the notion of masculinity in and of itself is toxic, period. Only because it implies that there's a role that you have to play because you were born into this particular way. So I feel like the notion in and of itself, the fact that they tell you have to be strong, because it then also implies that women are not supposed to be these things that we're told that we're supposed to be, right? And the fact that we have a whole lot of things that we can do that a lot of women are not able to do. And that's just plain and simple. So it's like and a part of the reason that we're able to do these things is because of these notions that we've been taught historically since the beginning of time. You know what I mean? So I feel like the notion of masculinity in and of itself, and assigning particular roles and attributes because of the fact that you're a man and maybe you're not a man, that in and of itself is dangerous and toxic to me.
I think masculinity starts to get toxic when us men, we think our thoughts and like our decision making is more important than like the other people kind of thing. One example I want to share with you guys is like basically us men, like we've gotten it like so confused that like our physical power is more important than like what's in here, you know, like, and that's like the most important power of all. So like once we start to like, you know, take these things away from other people, like in particular female, we say, no, you guys cannot think for yourself. No, you guys can't do this. No, you can't do that. So, you know, that's where like people start to like, you know, feel it, like the toxic masculinity. Yeah.
I also think it's toxic when it becomes like oppressive, because I think the projection of this ideal man and what an ideal man is, and it's like everyone thinks like, oh, it's a super strong person who completely embodies everything what it means to be like masculine, etc. And I think that's toxic. Like growing up as a gay man, I was like projected all these stereotypes onto me of like, oh, you need to be like this, and when you're showing emotion, it's like toxic to do so because you're not being a man and you're being feminine, you're being more like a woman. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, for example, if you want to go paint your nails or whatever, I don't see how the act of doing so in itself eliminates or destabilizes any form of your own masculine identification. I just think it's different for every person.
Okay, so to actually use that to transition and using the concept of words as well, and you guys can feel free to just shoot these out. We talked about words that you associate with masculinity. What words do you think of immediately when you think of femininity?
Not to sound rude, but weak, maybe?
Nurturing?
I'd say caring.
Submissive.
I don't know. The thing with all these words is just like, I just see like both femininity and masculinity as two strengths. Like, yeah, they could be on a spectrum and see that's totally opposite, but if you look at them, like they work hand in hand. It's not to say that both can't do either or. It's just that what they're associated with. Like, I don't like defining all these words is honestly like, because it's gonna make femininity sound weak and masculinity sound strong, which is not right, because I was raised by my mom most of my life and she was nothing but strong.
So my question to you guys, you've been talking about how there can be a spectrum to masculinity and femininity. and then how doing certain things shouldn't threaten one or the other. So that being said, do you think that we can actually define what masculinity and femininity are, or do you think they're just constructs that we've put in place as a society based on, I guess, how we were raised in the past?
I think they're constructs in all honesty. Like you look at ideas of like it changes honestly with the time periods. Like high heels were originally made. I did like some research about this today or whatever. Like they were originally made for Persian cowboys so that they could ride horses better. But it's like now the view of them has shifted in and now they're used more for women, etc. But I think it honestly just depends with the time period, because the time period honestly assigns masculine and feminine characteristics to a lot of things. It's constantly shifting. So.
Yeah, and also to build on that too, I totally think it's a construct too, and if you look at it historically, it's a construct that was made in order to, it maybe not directly, but it is an oppressive construct that was made, right? So it was made in the sense of men are running everything, made by men, for men, we're gonna run everything, we get to do whatever the hell we want, and we're just gonna live this way. And that's essentially, I feel like that was the goal, maybe not even directly, but I feel like that was the goal, and that's been the end result.
Do you guys think society is demonizing the contribution of men and what it means to be a man, since everything is just being labeled as toxic? Anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, from many different ways. You said.
Oh no, I kind of drown all that out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, like, let's say, like, girls, like, this summer was, like, the summer of the hot girl summer, the summer of the city girl, the summer of get your bag up, sis. When you look, like, when you, like, no, like, no, when you actually, like, look at it for what it is, that's actually a toxic masculine trait. The trait of, like, forget everybody, forget my family, forget what everybody thinks, I'm gonna go do what's best for me. That's masculine. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just, like, things can be played, like, any way, you know? Like...
I disagree with you guys only on the sense of, I don't think it's demonization as much as it is equalization, in the sense of when the scale has been tipped in a particular type of way for so long, and it starts to return itself to balance, it almost feels like whoa. Like if you look at any group of people that's been oppressed, at any point when the scales start to shift, the oppressor starts to feel as though, wait, why are you attacking me? Because you know what I mean? So if you look at it, whether you're looking at black, white people, whether you're looking at, even if you look at colonization, doesn't matter what it is, every time the oppressed start to balance the scale to the oppressor, it feels, and granted, and when I talk about oppressed and oppressor, I'm not saying that like we're evil, that's not what I'm saying, right? But whenever I talk about that, I'm only saying in the sense of like, we have, and all of us, whether you meant to or not, have participated in oppressive and dangerous and very, very bad behavior, and we weren't aware of it. And we're still not aware of it. You know what I mean? So I feel like all that's happening right now is just, we're starting to become aware of it, and it's gonna feel uncomfortable because that's not what we've been used to growing up. But once the scale has balanced itself, it may not even make sense to our generation, right? But it may make complete sense to the next generation.
My question kind of like hopefully touches on everything you guys have spoken about up until this point, which is like, we've been talking about toxic masculinity at a peer-to-peer level. But when you have a kid, it's like, how do you go about that? Guy, girl, in between, outside of that, how do you go about teaching them about masculinity, femininity, all of that?
I think no matter the sex, if my parent, like my mom said, like, you know, her mom always forced her to cook and clean, you know, because that's how her times were. She was supposed to be the provider, like, you know, not provider, but like, you know, like the cook and like, you know, the housewife kind of thing. So like, I just want to teach my children to like, you know, be somebody who they want to be, you know, like don't follow the crowd and stuff, you know, just like.
But with that being said, when, like, as a parent, you can only do so much. Mm-hmm. Because if society doesn't change, then your son's still gonna think the same thing you're thinking about, no matter what you say to him.
I don't know if I agree, because you're not completely wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's very people that, like, it doesn't matter. Your child's not in the house all day. Yeah. So they're gonna learn from their environment, right? You know what I mean? So if they're out and about, like, that's what they're gonna learn. But I think about this a lot, and it's like, So all I'm thinking is in terms of just from looking at my parents and how they raised me and how their parents raised them, just the idea that like, I don't think a parent's job is to control, it's to guide. So it's a matter of you don't make yourself, you don't impose how you feel on the child, you just guide them in the correct direction. So in the sense of if my child, and that starts with number one, having an open environment in the house, and that goes beyond what our parents do where it's like, you know, you can talk to me about anything and it's like sick, that doesn't do anything, right? But it's like actually creating an environment, being open with your partner, being open with all the people that their child sees you interact with, like just creating an environment of openness. And once that's been created, in that position, you're not like looking at the child like, shut up, you listen to me. You look at the child like, yo, if you need me, I got you. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with, I got your back. And I'm gonna help you try and navigate this the best way possible. I always talk about like, there's bare tweets where it'd be like a kid and like I saw this tweet, it was a kid in a Cinderella, it was a little boy in a Cinderella dress, and people were like, the masculinity is being sucked out of our men, da 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 da. And I was like, bro, if my child wants to be a princess, bet we're being princesses today. You know what I'm saying? So it's like whatever your kid wants, it's not up to you to rob your child of their childhood. It's not up to you to shut down their dreams. It's not up to you to tell them that they shouldn't be this way or shouldn't be this way. It's up to you to walk the walk. And then when they ask for your help and they look to you for guidance, they see how you're living, so they can be like, okay,
Okay,
I'm gonna
I
with
feel you
you.
on that, but the thing is, they're still kids.
Mm.
You as like you said, the prince and stuff. As much as you want to guide them, sometimes you won't seem like guidance. It seems like you're pushing them to something, right? So it's really delicate topic because, yeah, you might want to dress like a princess or something. Maybe that's where you cut it, not to control it. It's just like, hey, look, I'm not trying to be masculine. You can do whatever you want, and you explain to him the reasons. You know, it's not like you can do whatever you want. Like you gotta guide them. You know.
But especially in that situation too, when you guide your kid and you tell them you're able, like you lead them the right way, also make sure they're aware of the dangers that come around with it, right? So if my child wants to live however they want to live, dope, and I'm gonna make sure you can do that. But you also got to be aware of the fact that other people don't want you to live how you're living.
Exactly what you were saying. Like, you can't protect your child from everything that's happening in the world. There's going to be a lot of judgment towards them. There's going to be a lot of hatred, regardless of whether they follow the conventional path or whether they follow the unconventional path. They'll experience hardship at some point. But at the end of the day, as a parent, exactly what y'all were saying, when they come home, I want them to be 100% comfortable with the fact that they can be authentically themselves, even if the world doesn't give and continues to judge you and puts you down, etc. When you come home, you can be whoever you are without judgment, point blank.
I don't know. I just disagree with some of your points. AK is just I feel like as a parent, that child is your responsibility, because think about any situation in the world when something happens. What do people have to say? Bro, how they raise him? Who raised him? You know what I mean? Your kid is your ultimate responsibility, and I don't take that lightly. Even now, if I work hard at what I do now, it's because I love my kids, even though I don't have any on this planet. And to leave them in a world just to figure it out on their own, no. Obviously they will go through their own things, but even as us children, we need to understand our parents, they lived before us. They've been on this been on this earth longer than us, and they have the experience of going through what we go through today. And you have to equip your child, just like you said, I'm not raising my son or daughter to be 50%. I want to raise them 100%. That means if my daughter can cook, my son can cook. If my son can change a tire, my daughter can fix a tire. You know,
my son can dunk, my daughter's winning.
Bro, exactly. And if she can't up to the rim, she's Steph Curry.
I lie.
You know what I mean?
I lie. It is what it is. Whatever. You're not gonna get it right all the time when you're a parent. You just gotta do your best. That's literally all it comes down to. Just try your best to make sure you raise a good, respectable you.
Exactly.
With a jumper.
Yeah, exactly. So if your you turns out to be a bad you, it's a bad you. I think
man, watch Star Wars. We see how that played out.
A bad you is a
we see
bad.
How that played out.
Yeah, a bad you is a bad you, but a bad parent, that's on you. You feel me? You put effort into being a bad parent.
I'm dead.